Ahoy hoy, and welcome to the Dragon's Tome. It's us. We're back. Thank you, one and all, for your attendance. We that was a polite golf clap for us.
Yes,
That was very nice.
I thought he was clapping
Um,
for the attendance of the other people.
both
oh, okay.
celebrating us and celebrating our wonderful listeners.
Our excellence. Someone did write a letter to the email address, and it made Pat's week. So he's walking on cloud nine right now.
You did. It was a very nice letter.
Well, we'll get to that.
Are we?
Well, you haven't even said what the show is yet.
Yeah, because I'm in control.
Oh.
I'm I'm
Oh,
saddled
Pat.
with a couple of bush league greenhorns over here. They can't
God,
even
we're
let
going
me
off
get.
the rails, and we're not even 2 minutes into the show already.
Ugh. Okay, this is the Dragon's Tome,
Thank you.
and
That's
we are
all I
going
want.
issue by issue from one to whenever we decide to stop.
I
We
like how we're
take
not
a
promising to get to the end anymore.
we take take a brief look. We hit the highlights, and then we get on with our days. Um, Joining me, my name's Jack. Joining me is Rob.
It says right there.
You're pointing at Pat's shoulder. Okay, and
Not on my
Pat.
screen. I was pointing at my name, and that's see. It
Yeah,
says Pat's
see,
name's up there.
there he
Jack's
is.
name's up there. All our names are on the
Okay,
screen.
this is the issue 143, and from March 1989. Take a gander at that. Tell me what you boys think of this cover.
It's
It's a
very Top
classic.
Gunish.
Yeah, this is a pretty famous cover with the.
Is this when Top Gun came out? Is
No,
this
it
your
was
Top
it
Gun
was
came out?
much before this. Top Gun was.
Okay, I can't
Uh,
remember.
But yeah, this is super famous because hey, it's a jet fighter fighting a dragon. What more do you want? It's by our good old friend Dennis
Miss
Beauvais.
Bouvet, yeah. This guy, if he gets this one down, he's one kill away from being an ace, a dragon ace, dragon killer ace.
If you're counting the decals.
I
Mhm.
like how his name is Slayer too. That's a good
Slayer,
name.
yeah.
But yeah, it's pretty cool.
Because this is supposed to be an F-14
Maybe
Tomcat. I think that's what it said in the thingy.
he probably watched a lot of Top Gun to see what the cockpit looked like.
Probably. I mean, at that time, Top Gun was pretty popular. It wasn't a horrible movie.
Unlike now,
Well,
you made
now
it sound
you
like
just watch. Well, now you watch it, and you're. I think at this point, you're not Tom Cruised out yet from all the Mission Impossibles.
no. I was Tom Cruise over after Legend.
I've never seen a Mission Impossible movie. Anywho, yeah,
We're not going to
well,
insult you. We're not going to say anything about that.
no, okay, fine. I can live with that. There's no shame in not having seen any of the Mission Impossible movies, and I won't let anyone say otherwise. So there we go. We've discussed the cover. Now, traditionally, we each do a couple of articles. Who wants to start?
I'll start because I got a editor. Is that all right? Is that all right with you?
Since that is one of mine,
Oh, go
you've
for it
already
then.
started
I have
your
so many.
rocky
I
start.
have so many articles. You take that one then, Jack. Then Pat, you start.
Oh, a lot. Okay, let's go to page 24.
This is one of my articles.
Out of the textbook into is one of your articles, but
Yep.
you have 105 articles, so that's okay.
I do.
So this
Well, if you guys are
nice,
stealing them all, I'm running out of articles.
yeah. It's a little article about using real history to develop campaign settings and arcs. Textually, most people use the medieval times, as this author of the article says. And I'm not sure why that is. Is it just why do we just gravitate towards that? Is that because
Wow,
it's
that's what.
D&D and
Yeah, that's what Gygax did it.
yeah, I mean, I don't know why even when I was a young child creating a campaign world, did I parallel,
Yeah.
medieval.
Never really went
times kind
outside
stuff.
of that. Yeah.
Yeah, and then so this article says why not use other /history events
I don't think it's
to
Gygax.
create.
I take it back. I think it's Tolkien. Like that's where we all base hit fantasy on, I think, in our minds, right?
Yeah, I would probably say Tolkien before Gygax.
Yeah, because
for
it's
sure.
the elves and the dwarves and that kind of stuff. It's not so
Yeah.
medieval. It's more fantasy. Like I think, I don't base it on medieval stuff. I base it on Tolkien. Like I think that's.
Yeah.
So I take it
mean,
back.
that could be
Everything
it.
I've ever said, I've taken back.
The Hobbit, Lord of the Rings kind of thing. I get it. I get it. Those are all books we read.
Yeah.
But our little friend Eileen Lucas here says, why
Fabulous.
not use other significant history events in our world to base a campaign story on? Like she uses the American Civil War, for example. But why not have a civil war in your campaign, like a country or a fiefdom war against each other, and then drop your characters in there? Kind of idea. So I think it's a nice way of developing the different way of thinking when you're creating a campaign setting.
Not even for
And
a
I think
setting,
there-
even for just like a set of adventures too. Like you could
yeah,
run
campaign
through
arcs, or I mean, I think what I wrote down is arcs or settings.
Yeah.
In a sense, I mean, because you could start your setting as a country divided or a world divided.
I must say though, when she was talking about the Civil War, I got a little feeling she was on the south sides.
Yeah.
She was talking about the good elves in the south, and I'm like,
Yes.
I think you're
And the bad
you're,
dwarves in the north. That's
you're
fair.
biased or showing.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if Eileen is from Alabama.
Alabama. Roll Tide.
We're making a lot of speculation here. We should.
Well, I think there's one point she's like, yeah, where was it? Something about good elves in the south and like how they only became evil because of what the North did or something like that. I was like, what? Yeah, there was a little bit of.
God.
And then the other one
Well.
was the French Revolution Revolution.
Yeah, she uses the French Rev too. So there's a lot of things in our history as mankind that you could use to
Yeah,
create an arc or start a world and build it from there.
I like the Civil War idea. I think was a lot better. French Revolution, it kind of was like, I guess if you're the leader, like it kind of, or like a major player.
Or you're in whatever city or castle or whatever you want, capital city or castle that you're in.
You could
That
have,
you could be in the middle of that castle when the
it could be a
revolution
background,
starts.
yeah. But it's that one's harder to place because it's more of like it's not a one event. It takes over a long period of time. Where
Yeah.
Civil War is like starts and then it's like, okay, that's a war, you know.
Mhm.
But a campaign of an underdog story where peasantry rising up, you can see how you can start
Yeah.
off as a level one.
You can definitely make that last through a couple adventures, being part of, or even maybe start as one of the peasant revolutions, working your way up.
You get
Or-
told to eat cake too many times, and
Yeah.
you see some injustices, and
You
She
could
never said
have
that.
one of the characters look like the piss boy. Anyone get that one?
Pat, what are you talking about?
History of the World, books.
Yes,
You look like the piss boy.
classics.
okay,
But that's my article.
okay, good start. Not an article I would have brought to the table, but you made it work. So congratulations! You can give yourself a plate golf clap.
Is that how this is going?
Robert, I guess you came out swinging. You fired off a couple shots. I said, "Hey, slow your horses there.
Slow your hole. Slow your hole.
there.
The whole thing's
Slow your hole.
You're a little much. Dial it back. Now I'm gonna try again. I'm
Okay.
begging you.
Okay. We're going to page 5. No, I'm just joking. We're going to page 16.
Okay, good.
And Nobody Knows But You by Russell Droulard? It's a weird picture because it looks like what is that? Is that Indianapolis?
No, I think that's Philly.
Is it? Yeah, I don't know what this picture has anything to do with it, but mostly this is detailing how to add backgrounds to AD&D characters.
Yeah, I
And
don't think it's the capital in the DC. I think this is Philly.
yeah, it didn't look like Capital DC. That's why I thought it was different. Anyways, I don't know why this
I
picture's
think
here.
the picture illustrates because it's about being. It's different than the background of the I think it just
It's like a
shorthand
realistic
for-
background. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
don't
like
Oh, I read this article. I didn't like this article.
Well, it's just
Well, it's
adding
not great.
backgrounds. It's based on
Yeah.
races and character and classes. They wanted to flesh out all the different classes and races by having specific things for each one. And they're kind of like, these are just baselines. You don't have to use them, but it fleshed out a character, which a lot of D&D at the time didn't have that kind of background. So I thought it was a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, what I didn't like about it was he was putting the onus on the DM to create these
Yeah.
character backgrounds and to give to the players instead of
Well,
working with the players to
and
create that
sometimes
background.
sometimes he says like the players will come in, but yeah, it seemed like it was a little DM heavy, which isn't good. Yeah, it should be on the
Yeah,
players.
that's the main part about it, because I read this. I almost did this article, and I read that and I was like, it just sounds just like the DM is taking all the fun out of it for the players by creating a background that he wants instead
So
of
yeah,
working with.
I definitely saw it from a player's point of view. I would use it as a player, not as the DM. But
And I saw it as like, hey, your character knows this, the
Mhm.
player doesn't know this. These are things that you should have
yeah, more background.
intrinsically
Yeah,
known.
yeah.
Yeah,
Because you could go one of two ways: an outsider in a strange land, and the fun is you're exploring and you don't know. But the other would be,
But
hey,
he's pretty much saying like dwarves need to know that okay, this is what baseline dwarves need to know. You know, like it's not
Yeah.
it's not
right,
like his background. You know?
I mean, I do temper that my feeling a little bit. This is still, in a sense, the beginning of all role playing at this point.
Wow. Yeah,
I mean,
real role playing. Yeah.
more end of beginning, so people are not thinking with my. Let's work with the DM to make my character, and this is what I know.
Yeah,
my
but this isn't
background.
their backgrounds. This is, like Jack said, is general information that characters should know about the world they live in. It's not necessarily specific to them. Like it's more of
Well,
this.
I mean, if you get to the integrating knowledge, he actually makes two characters that
Oops.
are for player characters, and he gives them a history.
Yeah, that's where it gets wrong.
That's
But,
where
yeah.
I started to lose it. I was like, oh.
But the rest of the article's not about that. The rest of the article's like, okay, if you're a paladin, you should know this. If you do, you know, like
yeah,
you wouldn't know much about the wilderness, but you know a lot about politics and
in
that can, yeah.
yeah, information that in his campaign that you should know
Mhm.
going in, so that you're not that you have not only a bit of knowledge but also a little bit of attachment going in. Like, hey, you know this area,
Yeah.
and then vaguely on the outside of that, this and this, and are you
Like a
comfortable
lot of
with
it's
that?
like basic information. Like it's stuff that you obviously should know if you've read your character class, but it's yeah, it's I can see how you could expand it, and he does expand it too much to be like, okay, you were born here, you did this. It's like no, that's
Yeah.
the player's choice to do that. But the basic idea of giving them information about the world that they kind of need to know is important.
Yeah, I mean,
Or you could
in
do
a
it while you're
sense,
playing
it's
too.
almost moot in a sense because this is what this brand new session 0 now. People are calling
Yeah.
session 0.
Same
This is
idea. Yeah.
This is what you do.
Yeah, you're like,
whereas
okay,
I would just call it the first day of role playing.
all right, well, or you could. A lot of times, it's like as you're playing, you're like, oh, you actually know this. Like this comes up. You're like, oh, you would know this because
Yeah.
that's how we play it. I don't think we've ever thought of having it written down. It's just like you know, okay, you're from this area. You know that the orcs live just north of here. You know, like it's
No, I had a DM that made us. We all sat and we wrote backgrounds.
Yeah.
And then
Well,
added to those backgrounds as we went.
Yeah, backgrounds are one thing, but actually, like just general knowledge. This is not backgrounds. This is more general knowledge of the world. That's
Yeah, so that when he tells you about the village next door, you don't go, "Oh, what was that called? That was some stupid thing I've never heard of, and I don't care about."
yeah.
And you
It's
go,
like
"Oh
no,
yeah,
actually,
I read about that.
you're actually
That's where
yeah.
my future wife lives."
Yeah.
Oh, that's why it's important. Yes.
This is
Nonsense
also
like
another
that.
thing that modern role playing. What they do is just let the player just say it. Like, okay, I know this, and it's just like it's almost like you add it into the role playing. Is like oh yeah, oh that village over there. Oh yeah, I know that village because like Jack said, my wife lived there. Or something like that. Nowadays you
Yeah.
just kind of role play it instead of having to write it down. So I think it's just
Agreed.
like you say, it's a beginning of what becomes just natural. I think, and I'm sure a lot of people played it like this already. It's becoming more codified, I guess, especially with second edition.
And a first time player would probably appreciate it, but experienced gamers would be
Yeah.
like, "Oh, okay, yeah, let's move along. I got some playing to do."
But another thing he does bring up when he says putting it to use, it's good to have these kind of backgrounds too, because then you could use it for role playing fodder and for adventures in the future. Like you could be like, oh, you wrote that. I think in Jack's RPG actually, I wrote just some random thing about, I can't remember what it was, worshiping the god of death or something like that. And next thing you know, Jack was adding stuff like that into the actual adventures. So
I mean, when I did my GMing sessions, I always kept a little note tab so I could use something in their background or their storyline to interject into the storyline.
Yeah,
out of the
that's
blue
what good
like
GMs do, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. That's now everybody's got life paths and things like that. Where like I know in Cyberpunk they spell it out like, oh, you've had this failed love affair or you had this person dead in your background. It's
Yeah,
like,
well, they
you
spell
can
it
add
out,
that
or
in.
you get to make it up, but it pushes you in a direction.
Yeah, exactly. And
Which is, I think, what this article
specific.
should have been more like saying, we're going to push you in this direction, but as a player, you get to pick.
Yeah, that's the thing. I do think he did overreach his bounds by saying, "Hey, this is your background." It's like, no, I don't want to play that. That isn't my background. I don't want to play that character.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's my article. Jack, it's on to you.
Okay, my turn. Let's go to page 5.
Hey, I know that page.
To the right-hand side in the negative space of the editorial comments here, we have scum, but good scum. And there has been, I've noticed in the letter section, there's is it like a Ouroboros of topics that keep going around and around. Wizards at early levels are too weak. Then it comes around, and then now we're back to you can't play evil characters.
Yeah, it's like cyclical for sure. Because probably about 10 years before this, they were talking about the exact same thing.
and we see it. It just keeps coming up now. We have the letter from the editor that's kind of like, hey, I've done it before. I've played an evil character, and I killed my party members. I'm like, whoa, those can be mutually exclusive. Like they don't need to be the same thing. And goes on to say that probably playing evil characters should be relegated to comedy settings. Okay, that's fine. So we go, and yes, they have quite a few letters about playing evil characters, and it goes on. Some of them are retread the same ground that was that we've seen. A couple of them I thought were I don't know. So the reason I bring it up is because we've seen it before, we've discussed it before, but I don't see any changes in. It's probably been a couple years since the last time in Dragon Magazine terms. For us, it's been a couple months. I don't see any end to this, and when we get into now second edition, you don't get the assassin anymore. You don't get.
That's what he said. That's what some of the reason why the assassin was taken out, because it kind of it almost made you have to play an evil character. It's like, well, you don't have to. But what also I think he said is also, if you want to play an evil character, either everyone has to be evil or everybody has to buy in for you being evil. They have to know, and you have to just role play it, because if you're just going to randomly just all of a sudden start murdering people, that's not fun. Like, that's the way to end a campaign quick. So,
and I wanted to bring this up to indulge myself for just a moment. We were at Lake Geneva. We were playing D&D, and I ran a campaign, and I made it right from the get-go an adventure that had puzzles that you couldn't solve. I made it. I thought I was going to be creating this chaotic, fun little thing. I made all the characters were thieves with sketchy backgrounds and things. I seeded, and I think the results were people just going about all the players. These two were just as guilty of just playing characters as characters, and they didn't backstab. They didn't thieve. They didn't.
Pat was gonna backstab me, but you also there's also no alignment in your game. So it's not, we weren't specifically evil. Like I was playing mine like Jack Sparrow from I went for flamboyant. He wasn't about a cutthroat, but Pat would have turned me in if he had a chance.
And I think the difference is that a lot of these people are missing is if you're playing the game with jackasses,
Yeah,
it doesn't matter what the alignment is. It doesn't matter.
that's why alignment's
These
stupid.
guys,
Yeah, yeah.
these
Play your
guys,
character, not the alignment. That's what I always say.
and we're very. I don't know. At no point at the table was there any hint of things going off the rails. And then you read some of these letters about how, oh, my gaming group that had 200 people in it, we let one guy play an evil character. Now
Yeah.
we're down to 3. It's like,
I could see if the DM indulges that kind of attitude, but I think if you start being an asshole, the DM should smack you down so fast that it straightens you out, right? And there probably a lot of them are kids too. When you were kids, we
Yeah.
did stupid things,
Plus,
right?
plus the player characters, plus the player group would probably. Oh, I'm out of heal spells.
Wow, it matters how powerful they are too, or how good a like min maxer. If they create an ultimate character that could just wipe everybody else out, it's hard, right? Other than GM has control over that. GM could stop that. So just have a red dragon swoop down and eat him.
done and done.
Yeah,
Not
good
letting
one.
you ruin the whole experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But,
I
well,
could be-
it's also that evil character. It was probably not just an evil character. It was probably an asshole playing the evil character too that ruined the group. It wasn't his character ruining the group, right? That was
That
the
was my
interpretation. But
the parallel between you guys, who I seeded everyone with a reason to be duplicitous, all were rogues and all had reasons to not trust each other, and you all went, "Hey, let's work together, guys. We gotta get this done. Let's eyes on the prize. Let's."
there was
focus."
also the prize was a lot of money. So that's
and some people come in and go, "I wonder who I can just really."
yeah.
Give
Different
the business
attitudes,
to.
yeah. I guess it's a different attitude too. Also, how you might want to play just, hey, today I want to just fuck up this adventure. When you're playing with, especially with a GM that you don't know, you could really go, like we played in con games where we purposely messed with the GM, like we weren't evil, but we definitely tried to break the rules or tried to, that kind of stuff, right? So I think if you're playing with a bunch of friends, especially once again we're older, we know better, but I think it's generally works out. May not work out by the roles and stuff, but it works out by the role play.
So, as a topic that has come before and will come again, I just thought I would touch on that, connect it personally to our experience.
Well,
and then
one of my
also,
favorite characters I've played with you GMing was he was lawful evil, and he was so lawful evil that the person with us, I think our friend was playing a neutral character or neutrally. He wasn't evil. I think he was neutral, and he was more evil than me. So I was just like flabbergasted by it all. But his evil was just, he was by incompetence. So
he was incredibly powerful, but also
didn't know how anything worked.
Yeah, and it worked out fine. The chaos of, well, the two of you playing together in any group is a treat. It is lovely. Just your personalities. But we digress. We've got a show. What time is it? Who's letting this show go on this long?
Yeah, it's a Jack show. It's already half an hour in, and we've only done 2 articles.
Darn it. Okay, then how about one of you two do your second article?
Back to Pat, I think.
Get this, yeah, Patrick.
All right, so let's go to page 30.
30
it is. Telling it like it is. So, as of late, as I share our little video cast on the many Facebook forums of D&D, I've seen a lot of late new players asking tips on how to DM or things like they're brand new players. And as I was reading this, I was thinking, wow, this is a great article for the beginning D&D, beginning DMs. It has a lot of great tips on how to really get your campaign going, how to tell the story, how to create your campaign, fill it with people, what you should be telling people, how to describe it, and things like that, and different ways of organizing your campaign. And at the very end of the article, it just says, don't let any of these things hinder you. These are just guidelines. still play your game the way you'd like to play it, which is basically all you really should do. But as a beginning DM, Dungeon Master, this is a pretty good article that helps you kind of get your feet wet, kind of gives you a direction to look until you figure out what your play style is going to be or how you're going to do it.
Yeah, when you first start, it is really hard to know how you want to run a campaign. Like, I'm pretty loosey-goosey with letting things go when I do.
Yeah, some people are very story-oriented.
Yeah.
Or story-oriented with open ends.
Mm-hmm.
Which is kind of, I think, where I sit.
It matters.
I like to have a straight line, but you are free to go whichever way you want, and I will steer you back to the straight line at some point.
Yeah, and it matters if you're playing one that you've made yourself or if you're playing a module that's been made for you. That changes a lot too.
And I think the adventure as a whole has the beginning and end, but the campaign can be loosey-goosey. So if you have a happy medium between what has to get done and what's possible.
Well, Jack's, you're totally an open sandbox kind of DM. Like, you're like, go wherever you want. There'll be an adventure waiting for you. But yeah, it's I'm all about storytelling though. I think the story's the most important thing. Having fun, like, that's the most important thing. Yeah. Like the last Cyberpunk game, these guys played it. Pat came in late, but they played it and there was no fighting because they avoided every single fight somehow. It was like, it was just like, well, they did before that too. They avoided every fight. Oh. It was just like amazing, and that's just the way it went. That's how the story went, and that's how it was. I wasn't going to force a fight in there just because you don't have.
Another thing I want to bring about this article is, Jack, how do those column tags?
I was going to ask Jack about that too. Are you annoyed that it's Yopal making?
There's a couple,
ascribe it,
and there's a couple periods in the middle of sentences. This is a very poorly edited article. Yeah, no, it's unpleasant.
Yeah, when I saw that, I was like, "Oh, Jack's gonna have something to say about that one."
I will say this is not why I picked the article. I did pick it because I thought it was a very good resource for people. Even as dated as this is, it's still a very good resource for people who are looking to start DMing.
Like you say, we're so used to it now, doing it for almost 40 years at this point, that we kind of just fall into it, right? You just follow, what you're doing, and
but at some point we didn't DM like that in the beginning. I can tell you, I did not DM like that.
Yeah, exactly. It was much more okay. I don't know what's going on. Like, especially like Call of Cthulhu, early Call of Cthulhu games, where if they just missed a clue, you'd be screwed, and you're just like, how do I get out of this? I don't know.
Yeah,
you're just done. The adventure's done.
Yeah, and it was very straightforward for me. There was just a text that I would, or something I'd read them, and then we just go like that. There was no giving them just no elaboration. It was just blah, blah, blah,
that
blah.
too. Yeah, descriptions and stuff, and also railroading. Railroading at the beginning is very common because you're just like, okay, stay on the rails because I don't know if you go off the rails, I don't know how to get back on the rails. Right? It's hard to do. Now it's just okay, whatever, do what you want. I'll get you back on the rails because I know what to do.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
The skill of improv comes with experience, and
that's what it is. For sure.
The panic of like, oh, they've done something, and they always will. Your players
no matter what
will. The ability to steer them back and make them think it's their idea or is very difficult.
Or planting clues enough that people finally get it, because sometimes you'd think it's the clearest clue on the planet. Like, we had one GM that was like, it's so obvious. We're like, it's not obvious. We can't figure it out. It's obvious to you because you wrote it. It's not obvious to us.
Yeah, you're looking at the answer and you're thinking, how are they
missing this? And it's like, oh, all you do is take the square root of this. What are you talking about? Yeah. To have clear clues, or clear, like, especially make the clues more and more clear as you go if you're missing them. That's a big thing where it's like, oh, you remember this? Like, you also had this way you could go. Oh yeah, okay, I forgot about that. Because all the time when I'm playing, even making notes, I forget. Oh yeah, we were supposed to do this. I forgot about that. Like, that happens all the time.
We could do a whole show on the making of notes as a player and the horror stories that you look down afterwards and go, "What the?
Jack,
what
Jack,
did
Jack is mean about making maps. He made me map things, and it never works out well.
You're usually pretty good in Lake Geneva.
Not when Jack gave me the map for 2 seconds and said, "Copy this down," and I got like halfway through and had to just like, I think this was next.
That time his
The funny bit is I do that all the time, so Rob knows what's going on. So he's thinking these guys got to vamp for a little bit, and everyone else just kind of goes,
"Just okay, just stop talking." I'm like, distract him.
That's fine by me. And I said, "Okay, well, give me the Mac back."
I'm like, you're supposed to talk to him. Yeah, that's why it's cruel. Anyways.
But, anywho, yes, Rob, let's get your second article.
It's actually my last article because you guys took my other two, so I had 4.
Good.
Now I'm down to 2.
The rules.
It's on 76. It's actually in the middle of all this, but it's under short and sweet. It's in the reviews section, the role-playing reviews. They talk about Mechton 2. It's a mech game by Mike Pondsmith from R. Talsorian Games. And the funny thing about it, it's from the designer, Teenagers from Outer Space. No mention of Cyberpunk. Cyberpunk's been out for just over a year at this point, or just under a year, I think, at this point. So obviously, Cyberpunk wasn't a huge hit right off the bat. Otherwise, they would have said from the hit Cyberpunk. So it's interesting that you always think back, you're like, oh, Cyberpunk, that was so famous back then, but it must have taken a few years to catch on. So because they're not talking about it yet, and they're talking about our Talsorian Games. So I thought that was very interesting for historical reasons.
And Teenagers from Outer Space, yes, I can kind of picture the
I don't remember that one, actually.
Yeah, I think it's guys in a car, isn't it? Teenagers in a space car.
But to today's audience, it would be meaningless, but it must have meant something at the time.
Yeah, at the time, I think that was their first game, and it was a pretty big hit. And then they brought out Mechton, and Mechton was next, I think, and then this is Mechton 2, so this is like the second version of it. But $12, not bad. It's probably about the same. I think the pricing is about right. It's funny when you convert pricing, like inflation's gone up that much even since 1989. It's pretty crazy when you look at price conversions.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Everything's getting more expensive. Except for the show, which we've kept free.
Yes, it's free. Free for all.
True.
We don't even have any way to get bonus material because we don't believe in it.
No, not even an ad. We are...
Well, YouTube throws ads in. We don't get any money from them, though.
Yeah. It's true.
On our show?
Theoretically, I would assume.
Yeah. I've never seen one.
Yeah.
You never watched our show.
That's right. You said you don't watch it. That's right.
Canonically, I did establish early on Chekhov's remark that I don't watch the show. Now I can't.
You can't go against it.
No. So we may or may not have ads on our...
Comment below if you see an ad.
Comment below. Okay, yeah.
It's back to you, Jack, I think.
Crazy Japanimation robots from Mechton. To my article, which is page 38, PDF 38.
The highs and lows of fantasy. I almost did this one because it's interesting.
Oh, this is my last article.
There you go.
Well, that's good because you already did too. So I'm thinking this is going swimmingly.
I think Jack might actually get one under the hour mark here.
I think we'll get enough discussion out of this article.
Yes, let's see what your take is, Jack, and we'll see if my take is the same.
Okay, my take is that Paul Hancock wrote an article kind of saying there's two, not opposing, but two main schools of the fantasy worlds that we play in. One is the high fantasy where everything is magical, magic, and opposed to a low fantasy, which is grittier, a dirtier, more not more realistic, but maybe more
grounded. Perfect.
Yeah, see, that's not what I got.
Oh, so do tell.
I guess he was calling what he calls the high fantasy is, like you said, the magical follows the rules. The rules are what dictates going on. Those charts. Whereas the low fantasy is still the same kind of game, but now you're trying to inject realism in it. Like he specifically talks about like hit location charts and things like that.
So he's talking not just the setting, but he's also talking mechanics.
Yes, he's talking mechanics
Yeah.
because really what it, in his open in the main thing I got out of his is his opening statement doesn't say that either way is right or wrong, but the whole tone of the article says that if you try to play low fantasy, you're playing wrong.
Well,
I
for D and
did
D, that's probably
kind
true.
of, yeah, I did kind of get that his what his preference was.
Yeah,
Like
But
I pushed back a bit on Rob saying that one of the authors was a Confederate officer uh,
I'm just saying
who had
her granddad had some what is it, gray? Is it gray, the South? I can never
yes, yeah,
remember. Had some gray
a
uniforms in
uniform up in the
the
attic
that's
that
right.
every once in a while he'd look at lovingly. Okay,
That's right.
but I think there was a preference to the Tolkien-esque high fantasy with this author, and then the other way. Uh, I don't necessarily have a preference. In fact, I think if you can blend the two, it makes it better. But
yeah.
what do you think?
I think, like this, you said, I'll blend them both. I mean, but there is something to be said about making the game too realistic that it drags
Well,
the game down.
but that's the point of it. D&D isn't meant for low fantasy. I don't think. I think there's things like
No, and
Pendragon, like there's
yeah, I
other
think that's
games
what
that are
he.
made for low
Some of the things
fantasy.
he's saying is that D&D has to be played this way.
Hmm.
To do it another way, essentially, is wrong. I mean, it's almost a Gary Gygax kind of attitude in that sense.
Well,
Um,
Gygax never thought of himself as high fantasy either, though. He didn't think of it as Tolkien. He's in the
no, but
middle.
he.
Gygax is in the
But
middle for sure.
I do get the feeling more that he wanted you to play the game as is.
Yeah, but I think D&D is a middle ground. I don't think it is high
Yeah.
fantasy. I don't think it is low fantasy. I think it's in the middle because high fantasy things a bit like what's another game? Well, Middle Earth role playing game, or like that's high fantasy, and then Warhammer Fantasy is kind of low fantasy. That thing
Yeah.
is tough. Like that's
I
realistic.
just know that the
One
tone of
hit,
this
one kill
article
kind of
is.
thing.
Yeah, I know that the tone of this article is how fights start in the forums.
Yeah, it's almost clickbait. Like right,
Yeah,
like you say, I think D&D is in the middle. I think that's the way it is. And that is probably why D&D is so successful. It doesn't try to be too high. It doesn't try to be realistic. It's just, not. It was also first, I guess, but there's been so many
yeah.
afterwards. Like,
Yeah, at this point there was a
yeah,
surprising amount of role playing
Oh,
games.
I do
Of
remember one thing that he did. I read too that I thought maybe you guys might click onto, is his alignment here. He says that high fantasy you have to play the alignments, the character as it is, for it to be high fantasy.
I
Uh, he uses the paladin as an example.
yeah, but I don't think there's alignments in Tolkien's fantasy. What is everybody's align like that? I don't. I think
Yeah,
play the
but that's
character,
not.
not the
I
alignment.
think he's talking about the rules section of
Yeah,
what he calls high fantasy.
yeah, but that's the problem.
Adhering to
Rules
the
don't
rules
matter.
is what he calls.
Yeah,
But that's not what the article's saying.
I know, but I'm
he
saying the rules don't matter. The rules, it's not the setting is what high and low is, but not the rules.
with the alignments, he basically said that the high fantasy tends to lend itself to good characters doing good deeds, and the low fantasy allowed for flexible alignments. He
A
called
lot
it,
more gray areas. Yeah,
where he you could play thieves and assassins because it was a grittier, dirtier. But at the end of the day, his takeaway was play what you want. Don't let players kind of bully you from into one or the other. As long as you
well,
keep control of it,
Yeah.
it's
While his tone is to say, don't play the low fantasy way.
well. The funny thing is nowadays with like Game of Thrones is totally low fantasy. Like that's
yeah.
super low fantasy. So like there is no everybody is gray in that. There's hardly maybe one or two characters that's not just a shade of gray. And I would think Jamie Lannister is pretty paladin like, and he murders people just right, left, and center. So that's the kind of thing, right? I think that different tone is it's tone and not rules. That's how I've always said
Yeah,
it.
I do think that his use of high fantasy, low fantasy is incorrect in what he's
Or
trying to describe.
he's trying to do two different things at once. He's trying to describe high and low fantasy, but also attribute rules to that. But not the way it works.
and, and to
Well, I
make it
guess
a
it is.
binary. Yeah, he had a thing that he wanted to kind of make a binary of the two and what worked in both. And in my opinion,
It's a spectrum.
yeah, it is. But his thesis is this,
I
and
know, yeah. He's as bad as an alignment system.
Yeah, I mean, the subtitle on the title itself.
I know. I saw that too. Yeah, it's
heroism, not realism, is the name of the game. So basically, just saying,
I like
do the
high,
way the rules say. It makes them rule. That's how you get your high fantasy heroes and all.
But it's how you like to play. Like if you can play
It
D&D
is.
lower if you wanted to, but
It is.
it's.
I mean, and I think overall he tried to get you to play the way you want to play, but
he had an agenda.
Over low fantasy at every turn.
Once again, it's because we're all born from, especially at this time, we're all born from Tolkien, and that's in our blood. There's nowadays, I'm sure it's not like this. I bet people growing up now, they don't have this kind of, because a lot of them didn't grow up on Tolkien, right? They grew up on Game of Thrones and things like that. I'm sure it changed a lot. You know. Yeah. There's a lot more sex in their role playing games.
Oh, I'm sure there is. Yeah, them kids are crazy.
Them kids are crazy.
Okay, so that was my last article. It's time to move on to some ads.
I think for once, we actually move on to ads.
This is the way that this.
The stars have finally aligned.
This is what I was told the show was going to be when I signed on. Okay, so Pat, what's your ad?
Jack, how many ads are we allowed?
Just the one.
I only have one ad.
Oh, I have two.
Hopefully not. Let's go.
They're short and they're not.
I have a comment about other ads, but I only have one ad.
I struggled with ads on this one.
Who's going first?
So we're going to go to page 32.
32. Better not
for lack of ads for me.
Imperial Guard, yeah.
Imperial Guard, blah blah blah. A lot of models. You don't get these many models from GW anymore. That's all I had to say.
Plastic though. Plastic actual miniatures, not mechs, but actual miniatures. That's probably a big one.
There's no way that you're going to ever get 36 models in a box from Games Workshop now.
Well, does it say the price? That doesn't say the price. So it could be the pricing might be starting going up, but nowadays 36 models would be about $8,000.
Yeah. I mean, you're lucky to get 10 in a box from GW now.
They've stopped putting all the ads that I've seen for the Games Workshop now. They don't put the price on anymore, so I don't know what that says, but it's just a fact.
I wonder if they have what they call it when you change the prices, mattering where it is. Where some places like Nottingham have higher prices than like somewhere else. I'm curious. Like they have by this point, I assume they have all their GW stores everywhere. I think so.
I don't know. We'd have to ask Ronnie because I think Ronnie says there weren't that many.
No, even when he started.
Yeah, like he had to make a trip to go get. His stuff.
It wasn't like it was on every corner like it is now.
Yeah,
I don't know if it is anymore. I think it's probably gone the other way now. But
no, they still have them around. I mean, but they're one employee stores now. It's a very weird model.
Yeah, but it's interesting to see actual Imperial Guard now too.
Yeah,
Interesting. Okay, Rob, what's your ad?
Obviously, we're going to go to page 3.
Battletech. Wolf Dragoons.
Who are these guys? This is it's amazing that they're already seeding it. They're already seeding the Pat's hatred of the clans coming. But
yep, I saw Krinsky's name on there.
Well, that's Natasha Krinsky's part of the Wolf Dragoon. This, by the way, is the most chaste picture I've ever seen of Natasha Krinsky. Usually, she is leather clad and buxom and showing a lot of legs. This is like
she kind of looks buxom, except for her vest is hiding a lot of her.
But usually all she's wearing is a vest. That's all I'm saying. So this is before they became cheesecake. But Wolf's Dragoons source book, a classic one. Yeah, so it's beginning. It's amazing how fast we forget how fast the clans came. That's all I'm saying. Because it's about a year away.
I don't forget how fast they came.
Yeah.
A stompy robot that has one straight leg, one articulated leg, and I believe an arm visible out of the explosion.
There's no arm.
There is no arms in this mech. This is
what do you think this is? Do you think this is a Jenner?
No, it's a locust.
But you don't see the arm in the explosion just sticking out.
That thing in the front there, that's a gun. That's
no, move your eyes slightly to the right.
Oh, the actual pilot's arm.
Oh, his arm. Yeah.
So if
he's dying, yes.
So let's go into ratios again, and if this is his arm, this guy can not sit up in this cockpit.
Locusts are small. They're small, little
I do get he's
guys.
small, but
Yes, there is something going on with the leg, though, Jack. I think that is correct. There's some kind of weird physics
A
going on.
lack
With that.
of a lack of articulation on one leg.
Or
he's
the
having a
one
mech,
or the one
he's
leg
having a mech
exploded
cramp.
and it's already gone up. Maybe I don't know. It's weird. It is not quite correct. You're right.
having a mech cramp. It's just like, ow, my leg is cramping.
Anyways, that was my ad. Oh, and I also wanted, before I do any other ads, this magazine has so many ads for books in it. Do you guys notice that? Like every other ad
Yeah.
is for books.
A lot of books.
I think that's where the money was being made at the time. So there's so many ads for books. Jack, what's your ad?
If we could just go up to PDF page 2.
Oh, I get to scroll up.
Right here, right now, survival of the fastest. Now, we have what appears to be a paisley-clad wizard doing some illusionary, like illusory spells. To when I started playing in Greyhawk, the art had the Bashki type orcs.
Yeah.
And
these
I
are
still
for sure.
to this day, like these guys saying, "Where there's a whip, there's a way." Like,
Yes,
look at those guys in the
There's a whip.
background.
for sure. I wonder who drew this.
There's
say?
no way.
I don't know. I should have looked it up because
Oh, Daniel Horn. Daniel Horn's a great artist. He does a lot of covers for Dragon. He's one of my favorite cover artists. So it's there you go.
Well, so for many years, between like I said, Ralph Bashki's Lord of the Rings and the way Greyhawk kind of, these were my orcs. They weren't the pig people. They weren't the
Yeah, I think I'm more pig people, but these are almost Cthulhu-esque Ithic kind of little frog man to them a bit.
yeah, they are about a stouter frame than say like a other orcs. But so, anyways, this is for a module called Fate of Istis, and the Cole's notes is that the god of good wants to test the people of Greyhawk and brings down these trials based on class on people of Greyhawk. And yeah, I've never seen this adventure. I've never played this adventure. No. But as premises go, if I was looking at that, I'd go, oh, well, I'd pick that up. That sounds interesting.
Well, it says
class-based.
It's a combination source book and adventure anthology, which is interesting too. So it must have a lot of about Greyhawk too.
Yeah.
Fun.
So that is my ad. So that wraps us up.
Yeah, cool. If we went to one, before we wrap it up though, let's look at page 108 real quick.
We couldn't have a perfect episode, Jack. It wasn't possible. For 108, it's just a player's handbook.
Yeah, second edition.
Yeah, we knew it was coming.
Yeah, but now we've seen the actual book covers and everything.
Yeah.
And there's the release dates.
We knew all this.
Yeah.
Jack, he broke the rules just for this, man. He broke the rules for something.
With ads.
You didn't need to have 2 ads.
He had to derail it, and to do so, he chose an ad that we've seen probably 6 times already. Just that's spite. That is spite. I don't know.
Because the player's handbook's actually out at this point. So,
Rob, turn his audio back to tin can for the next episode, because we don't need this.
We got to punish him somehow, right? That's the only way.
Nope.
Okay. Well, I can't believe that we've done it. We've done another flawless week. We do this weekly too, boys. We do this weekly.
Yeah, it's punishing to our
for free.
Yeah.
And just as we're wrapping up, Rob promised to talk about a nice letter we got. He didn't deliver that.
It wasn't from my letter. It was Pat's letter. Pat, please tell us.
No,
it was our letter. It was our letter.
Yeah, and also Pat talked to Clyde Caldwell, but we didn't get to that either. So, unfortunately, for this week's episode of the Dragon's Tome, I've been Jack.
I've been Rob.
I've been Chopper.
You'll have to save it for next time, Pat.
That's all right. We'll talk about it. First things first. And we're doing 5 ads and 7 articles.
Oh, the
Ads.
next one's I have like 1,000 ads for the next one.
Okay, perfect.
Bye.
Bye bye.